Okay, hi guys. Here I am making my this is gonna be interesting. So as many of you know, or maybe you don't know, a couple of years ago, or maybe over a couple of years ago, anyways, a couple of years ago, I renovated my place that I bought, which I'm very proud of, and I learned so many things during this renovation that I want to share with you guys. You know, there are some things that I wish I knew, some things that I was told, but I didn't listen because sometimes I like to learn the hard way. I'm one of those people, and it's okay. Like, I don't regret any of it. It was a learning experience. I know that the next time I'm gonna renovate my place or maybe guide someone in renovation, I'll have way more knowledge than I did before. So here's a video talking about the things that I wish I knew before I renovated my place. Stay tuned. Okay, also, so I brought myself some tea because, you know, I like me some tea, and walnuts and raisins. Honestly, this is the real power couple. Walnuts and raisins, they taste so good. Anyway, so I'm gonna get straight into it. One thing that you ought to know is that before renovating, there's a particular order to get things done. I know it might sound obvious, but that's something that you might forget in the process because you're overwhelmed with the cost and everything. So when you're doing the renovation, do the, you know, the messy or the ugly part first. So the things like, you know, flooring. For me, with the renovations that I've done, so I'm gonna go in the order, was flooring. They call it the lipstick renovation, when you just do just some quick touch-ups to make it look good. So I did flooring, I painted my place, I did some electricity work there, and also I furnished my place. So the order that I had done it is, you know, flooring first, because that takes a long time and it can get messy and, you know, make the walls messy and whatnot, and because they also have to take off the baseboard and then put it back on. So flooring has to go first. Then electricity, because if the electrician needs to drill some holes or whatnot, that's also gonna need some patching things up and painting over. And finally, painting. After I painted my place, I also furnished it. So that was the last thing that you would do, obviously. Second thing that I learned is that you get what you pay for. Now, it may not always be the case. Sometimes you might get a really good deal on from a tradesman who does a great job. Like, for example, for my electrician, did an amazing job, clean work. I highly would recommend him. I've already recommended him to other individuals. But the flooring, that was not a fun experience. You know, it was definitely a nightmare. I had to chase this guy. He did not do a good job. The job needs to be redone because the way he's done the flooring, the vinyl is now starting to rise. The place is still livable. The vinyl is now starting to rise, but it doesn't look good. I mean, I paid for this to be done, and he didn't do his job. And the problem is, just because you think that you're gonna do any work anything you put your hands on properly, you'll have that same expectation from others, and unfortunately that is not the case. So I'm just looking over here because I have some notes here. That's not the case. When I found my electrician, it was a recommendation, and I listened. So I'm like, okay, I trust the recommendation, let's go for it. And the electrician did not disappoint. But the flooring guy was also a recommendation, but his work had not been seen. It was just a recommended, like, oh, I know he's done work for someone else. We just didn't know if it was a good job, you know? So we didn't know if it was a good job. So I, you know, went into it blindly. Mainly it was my fault because I didn't plan ahead of time. I thought, you know, I just call this guy, I book an appointment with him, I book him for the next day. Here's the mistake. Book him for the next day, he'll come and do the work for me. The problem is, prior to calling to this flooring guy, I called some other individuals as well, but they were booked. So, which goes to show that the good ones are gonna be booked. Chances of them of being booked are higher than the ones that are not doing a great job, which was the case which was my case. So anyways, he came, he did the job, he did a terrible job. I had to follow up with him. He was ghosting me, and I had to threaten a lawsuit for him to take me seriously. So what I wish I knew, which brings me to my next point number 3, is it's totally okay to call the tradesmen's references or ask them for, like, you know, previous clients that they worked for, and ask them if they did a good job. Would they recommend them? You know, had I had done that, it might have probably saved me from the headache with the flooring guy, because honestly, it was super stressful. But I didn't do it. I didn't know that I could do it. The other thing that I didn't know is that it's totally okay to write up a contract and let the flooring or the tradesman know that you're only going to give them half of the pay before the work is done, and the other half the pay, the remainder, once the work is done and you're satisfied. Like, I think that's totally fair. That incentivizes. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold I'm getting over. What it does is it incentivizes the individual to do a good job because they want to get paid, right? So yeah, I wish I had done that, and but you know, hindsight's 2020. I know what I didn't know before, and that's the case. The next point that I have now, I think it's point number 4. I'm not sure. If you're a woman, which obviously wasn't my case, the chances of the tradesmen taking you seriously are lower, especially if you tell them or they can sense that this is your first time. I've learned that from personal experience. So when I would call them and I would check on them or whatever, they just would give me vague answers, and I would just accept that, thinking, oh well, that's the norm, that's how it is. But that's not the truth. So I had to get my fiance involved in the process, and, to make sure that he shows up with me to my apartment and talks to them. I had to get my dad involved, so, and whether we like it or not, this is the truth. There are some individuals that are not going to take you as seriously because you're a woman. I don't like to be one of those people who says, oh, because I'm a woman or whatnot. But in this scenario, in this case, it totally was the truth, I'm not saying all tradesmen are like that. No, they're not. Some are, they're gonna tell you as it is, however it is, whether you're a man or a woman. But not everyone is like that. So if you want to avoid any potential headache, if you want to avoid potentially being screwed over and lied to, and given wrong estimates, then you should get a man involved as well, or someone who is more experienced, because it will show through their energy. It will show in the way that these whoever you bring with you talks to the tradesman, and yeah, it's not worth the headache, honestly. So that brings me to my next point, and this is something that I was warned about, but I was like, yeah, it's gonna be okay. Things will always cost you more than you think, and they will always take you longer than you think. Given this statement, which is a fact, and it was a fact in my case, you have got to plan ahead of time. So what does it mean to plan ahead of time? You need to line up everyone ahead of time. So let's say you need to get flooring done. Like in my case, I needed to get my flooring done, my painting, the electricity, and like buy the furniture. I left it all to the last minute thinking, oh, it's gonna be available. Like, I made a mistake. I know I made a mistake, and I was warned not to do that, but I didn't listen. I'm telling you, you don't want to be in that situation, because you're going to be left scrambling, calling around, trying to find someone who is available to do the work. And if they are available, the chances of them actually being good and doing an honest work, if they're available last minute, I'm not saying everyone is like that, but you're taking that risk, and it's not worth the risk. So, given that's what I just said, my renovation cost me about 30% more, and it took about 30% longer than I thought it would have taken me, or I wanted it to have taken me. As a result, it cost me more as well. So, because my apartment just wasn't livable, it wasn't livable. And the other mistake that I made is I didn't look at buying furniture ahead of time. When I was ready to start looking at furniture, I was looking and the shipping was like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month later for the shipping to arrive, which I was so surprised about. I'm like, what do you mean this bed frame is gonna arrive a month from now? It didn't make sense to me. But having have had that experience now, I know that things take time and they're not gonna be available like this to us, especially in this day and age. If you're used to using Amazon Prime and with the click of a button you get your delivery the next day or sometimes even same day, it's not the case when it comes to renovation. It is not. My last point is remember to have fun. Honestly, it can be a stressful experience. It was a stressful experience, but overall it was fun. I got to, learn some of the terminology. For me as a woman, I'll just speak for myself. It's not something that I expose myself on a daily basis. I got to have a new experience and say, hey, I'm renovating my place. It's a fun, cool experience to have, and you should be proud of yourself if you are doing something like this, because it is a pretty big deal. Remember, if someone is giving you advice, doesn't have to be me, you don't have to listen to me, but I'm just sharing from my experience. And this is someone that has already done the work. Do yourself a favor and listen to them. Because my fiance had warned me. He didn't warn me, he told me, listen babe, this is gonna take you longer if you're not gonna start planning now. I was like, oh no, I'll be okay. So don't be like me. Listen when someone's giving you advice. I usually listen, but I just thought it would be okay. It's okay. You live and you learn. No regrets. I'm happy with the renovation. It's now completed. The only thing that I'm not happy about is the flooring, unfortunately. Like I mentioned, the place is still livable, but what I need to do with this flooring, I need to take out all the furniture, get out the flooring done again, and then bring the furniture all back in. So that's gonna cost me time. It's gonna cost me for the flooring again. It's gonna cost me for the storage of the furniture. Like, where am I gonna put all this furniture? So you live and you learn. And that's what I've learned. So wanted to make sure that you learn from my mistakes. And that's it. So some of the things that I learned from my renovation. I hope you are gonna get some tips. If you have any questions, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you have any suggestions. Maybe there's something that I've missed, something else that you would recommend. I am myself, I'm more than happy to learn and maybe share with other individuals as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.